We'll call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I'll introduce the panel members first. Gisela Rempel to my left, Richard Whitbread to my far left. Our assessor today will be Arif Das Mohammed, and our administrative assistant today is Kelsey Harrison. I'm Marcel Larondo. I'll be chairman. We'll be hearing applications for revision of assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that the applicant or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessment of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decision with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions and the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. Swear them in, please.
Do you swear in or affirm? Could you please state your name?
Arif Das Mohammed.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you please state your name?
Ayrton Newfeld.
And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thanks.
Where's that one? That always people there. There's one more full up there. Let's see which one it was. The first item on the docket will be 670 Raleigh, the amount of assessed value. Arif, when you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Board of Revision file number 19-423, roll number 020111400000. Address is 470 Raleigh Street. Roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $636,000. Parcel use is industrial warehouse. Number of buildings is 1. Number of premises is 1. Number of stories is 1. Actual year built and effective year are both 1995. Wall height is 18 feet. Zoning is M1 manufacturing light. The land area is 51,049 square feet. The plan area is 2,925 square feet. Gross floor area is 3,520 square feet. Same with the leasable, 3,520 square feet. And the land to plan area is 17.45 to 1. On the following page, we'll see that the subject last sold September 10th, 2017, for a sworn value of $290,000. So that sale was 11 years prior to the reference date, and I have the sale mailer on page 12 and 13. So you can see it was a non-arm's length deal, and per question 15, the overall condition of the building was in average condition. And on page 13, we see that they paid cash $290,000. The subject has a lease on it, and if you turn to page 10 and 11, that's where we have, page 14 and 15, you'll see the income expense mailer that they provided.
14 and 15?
On mine is 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Okay, I went too far. I went into your agenda. Okay.
You'll notice that they are claiming leasable area of 2,925 square feet. So it looks like they're not including the mezz, but we are, and we've always done it that way. So, and they have 0% vacancy. On page 15, you'll see if you include the mezz space, they're collecting $8.30 per square foot net. And if you don't include the mezz, they're collecting $10 per square foot net. So going to my comparables on page 3, you'll notice that all leases are current in relation to the reference date. All comparables are industrial properties. Effective ages range from 1975 to 2001. Wall heights range from 15 feet to 22 feet. Leasable areas range from approximately 2,000 square feet to 4,700 square feet. Net rents range from $7.95 per square foot to $10.50 per square foot. On page 4 is our workup. So we're utilizing an overall net rental rate of $10.50 per square foot. To be fair and equitable for all industrial property users, we're allowing for a 2.5% vacancy loss, even though there's been 0% vacancy since 2009. We're allowing for 2% non-recoverable expenses as per our non-recoverable study located on page 18. I won't go through that. I think the board has heard that many times. We're allowing for a vacancy shortfall of $3.75 per square foot. This results in a net operating income of $34,985. We're utilizing an overall cap rate of 5.5%. This results in a capitalized value of $636,091, or assessed value of $636,000. If you turn to page 8, you'll see the map of the subject property. And then at the bottom of page 8 is the parcel boundaries. On page 9 is the overhead view. You can see it's quite a huge parcel there. And then in the middle of page 9 and bottom of page 9 is the street views. On page 10 is the site plan. And you can see there it's 45 by 60. That is the measurements of the building, and that works out to 2,925 square feet. And then on page 11 is the mezz space, which is 17 by 35 feet, which works out to 595 feet for a total of 3,520 square feet. So taking into consideration the industrial real estate market in Winnipeg over the last several years, where there have been more users than available space, according to our external sources, evidence located at the back on page 2, 4, and 6. Taking into account the most recent sale from late 2007 in the amount of $209,000, which was 11 years prior to the reference date, and the actual rents collected, we believe that the assessed value of $636,000 to be fair and equitable, and I respectfully ask that the board confirm this value. And I'm open to questions.
Questions, Mr. Neufeld?
Yes, your cap rate of 5.5% that you said that was model generated.
Yes.
That would be, what would you say that would be based on? Because that's obviously a little lower than
The condition of the property. So I haven't visited the property. I'm just going to check my notes here when it was last. Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody must have inspected the property, and that's what the cap rate that they have selected. And the model is selecting that cap rate also based on that.
Okay, so would there be any adjustments based on the construction of the building at all?
It would be the cap rate would be based on the condition, the size, and the location of the.
But so a metal prefab building like this wouldn't be considered as lower construction quality than any.
No, it's you can see it's collecting quite a substantial rent, so we don't believe the fabrication is a detriment to the.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned the mezz. Now we differ by area, so you're suggesting that's the mezz, correct?
Yes, 500. It's on page 11. It's 595 square feet.
Okay, and you also got into, I believe you read from the Stevenson market overview?
Yeah,
Or
that
was
would
it
be,
the college?
it was the Stevenson on page,
So they're indicating, yeah, okay, they're two of your secondary portion. So they're indicating industrial leasing market, very active. Now, are you aware that that a building like this wouldn't be tracked in studies like this, and it would be higher quality, flex warehouse style buildings? That would be referring to?
no, actually, I have the Stevenson report here, I can hand out the particulars if you wish. So the way the Stevenson report works is they track investment quality buildings and they track owner-occupied buildings also.
So would you categorize this as an investment quality building?
Well, it's investment, I believe it is not owner-occupied, so it, according to the Johnson report, that it would be an investment property if it's not owner-occupied.
Okay, so anything that isn't owner occupied would be, you would contend is an investment property. Doesn't
Correct.
really, so the grade of the investment isn't necessarily a factor.
Not
To you.
according to the Johnson report.
Okay, and then on, just because it was brought up on your page 4, you have Ralph Crito's industrial cap rates.
Right.
Now, you've got a low of 650 and a high of 725, but you're applying at 550. Would you think that maybe
We're
this is...
using our own cap rate study.
Right, so then maybe this cap rate study wouldn't necessarily be
I think they are looking at the industrial properties only, investment grade industrial properties.
and which this is, or is
Well,
okay, those are my questions. And sorry, and your vacancy, the 2.5% is applied for industrial citywide, right?
we're using a overall vacancy rate and not just an investment grade because it would not be fair to owner occupied or investment. So
But
we
it's-
use an overall.
But it's not area dependent?
Yeah, it is.
It is area dependent, so that would be 250 for this area, 2.5.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Those are my questions, thanks.
Richard?
Looking at your evidence, I don't see an adjustment for land.
No, I noticed that
7.45
also.
ratio, that's awfully high.
I noticed that too, so I'm not sure if they took. Let me just check my notes here.
It does seem landlocked, but
Yeah, so for surplus land, they should have made an adjustment for or surplus land, but they haven't. And,
let me ask you another question. If it is landlocked and no access, or very difficult to create access, would you do surplus land? Or
it would be excess if it wasn't landlocked and there was access to it, but since it isn't, so it would be surplus.
so no adjustment?
No, there hasn't been an
Okay,
adjustment.
thank you. No, that's it. Thank you.
Gisela?
I have no questions, thank you.
I guess my only questions are on your cap rate. Okay, you used the lowest possible cap rate in your study.
Correct.
What makes this thing such a great
I'm,
building?
I haven't inspected the property, but I am assuming somebody had inspected it and that they picked the cap rate and applied it to the model.
So you're taking their word for it,
Correct, yes.
so it's not your word, it's their word, right?
Well, it's all model based, so
but-
somebody's gone in and.
But 5.5 would be a very nice building.
Yes,
This is 1995,
correct.
and it's already 15 years old, industrial.
I'll just mention that there was no appeals for 2016 and 2018. I know we don't compare
You're right, we
assessments,
don't.
so I won't give you a number of what it was.
You're right, you won't. I've got no further questions. Mr. Neufeld, on with your presentation.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a quick adjustment. We didn't have the 831 rent. I'm applying the per annum at 29244. I'm not gonna add in the space for the mezzanine because I'm using the final number. If I were to add the space for the mezzanine, it would bring the value down a bit because you'd be adding to the shortfall. I did the calculations based on just changing my net income. So, sorry.
What are you using for your rent now?
I'm making an adjustment to 29244 based on the 831
244?
244, yes, and that's the potential.
That's what they put in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hadn't seen this until the assessment. The subject property is rented by Polar Windows, and they are, if you go to my page 2, you'll see the subject with the little arrow there. To the north of it, on the right side, is their other building. I believe that's 672 Kimberley. When you're looking at if you're considering them together, the land to building ratio would be quite reasonable in that respect. This is obviously rented, so there would be maybe a different application of how it's being derived for that. But when we're looking at this, this is their storage for their main site, and that includes the land itself. So they're using some interior storage and some exterior storage for the very low land rate. The building next door, the low land ratio to building ratio. Potential income 29244. I'm going to keep the vacancy at 7.3. That's based on the Johnson report, East Kildonan. The Johnson report is showing a total industrial vacancy of 7.2 and 7.3 for the area. The midpoint would be 7.25, but we rounded it up there to 7.3. Non-recoverables are based on 5% of the 17,000. Again, I'm not going to make the changes because it's not substantial enough to do the math. And then the shortfall at 789 would be based on the taxes that were paid at 636, or sorry, of the 2018 assessment, which I believe was 582. I'm still going to say it. And the utility is 217, and then R&M of 50 cents. My adjusted number with now an 8% cap, I'm changing it to 8 because there is still a bit of a surplus land, regardless, because we are only looking at this property. So there wasn't really much consideration in our cap for that. So with an NOI of 23,950.
What is it?
23,950.
23,950?
Yep. And a cap of 8 is for our requested value of 299,000. Again, the mezz is something that could be included either way. The net income would still be 229,244 because that is what is being paid. Support for our cap rates are in the brief. I think the assessments department's cap rate of 5.5 is not at all indicative of this property whatsoever, and I respectfully submit that the value of 299 is a fair value for this property. Thank you.
Irene?
Sorry, I just want to go over your calculations.
Yeah.
So
no worries.
you're using, what was the area you were using, sorry?
I for the shortfall with 2925.
29, okay.
Right.
So you're not including the mezz?
Yeah, basically all I did, if you look at my brief, is change the net income to 29244 and then make the adjustments based off that.
Okay, so I just want to refer you to my brief on page 14.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom there, so you see where it says a mezzanine is considered rentable area if a mezzanine is either permanent or unclassified. So I take it this is a permanent mezz.
Yes.
So should that not be included in the rent lease?
It should, and I can recalculate it, but it will get a number of about 280 based on that.
Yeah, I'll go through your calculation.
Yeah, I'm not really arguing with you about the mezz as far as whether or not it's accessible. I'm just kind of taking a shortcut here. It's the last day.
Also, the vacancy, so you're indicating the vacancy, the Johnson report is indicating a vacancy of 7.2?
Yes, so overall 7.2 in 2017, and
Okay, so are you
These skills
aware
don't.
that the Johnson report, that vacancy is just for investment properties? And no owner-occupied properties?
But how would, what
Well,
would an owner-occupied
well, would
property
it
be
be-
vacant? How would that affect
So,
that?
but what you're saying though is like, if it's a owner-occupied property or a investment grade property, you should be applying the 7.2 less the vacancy first.
Based on, the
So how is that fair to like, non-owner occupied, or like, why should we be looking at just the investment side of the, because that's only 35% of the market.
Right, well, so are you saying that your vacancy report includes owner occupants?
Yes.
So
we
how
we
could an
look at the
owner,
overall market.
how could an owner
vacancy.
occupant be vacant if he's owner occupied?
But to be fair and equitable to everybody, we're allowing a overall vacancy rate.
I
So
I
I'm
fail to
just
see
wondering
how an owner occupant
So when you're,
vacancy could
but-
affect this.
so your argument is saying that then if it's owner occupied, then we should have zero vacancy?
No, we're saying we look at the investment market to see what the vacancy is in the investment market and apply that as a parameter. I don't, if you were looking at owner occupants to make a vacancy adjustment, it just wouldn't really, it would fail the logic of what you're trying to do.
Okay, and my next question is your non-recoverables, which also is structural reserve is a non-recoverable, so the total of that is about 9% you're asking for?
No,
Just
that would be your opinion that the structural reserve is a non-recoverable, so that we would categorize that separately. The structural reserve would be basically setting money aside for generally speaking, roof repair in industrial buildings, and then non-recoverables would be things like management or other costs, but we did apply it at 5% of our original $6.
And then for your shortfall rate, so your calculations are at the bottom there. Did you say you were using 2018 taxes or 2017?
No, sorry, 2018.
So,
I think we got the calculated. Hold on.
so the 2017 taxes were $12,165, which works out to about $4.16, not the $5.22 you have there.
416. So that's the 2018. Yeah. So I didn't prepare this brief. The 636 was probably the only number we had. So it's likely that the taxes were based on the current value and previous mill rate. I could recalculate it based on everything we're talking about, but I know that the number would still go down based on the shortfall having to go up for the area, and my non-recoverable request would go up by the 5% of $8,000, and then the shortfall would probably still zero out based on the changing of the taxes and adding of the space.
Yeah, okay, those are all the questions.
Gisela?
Yes, I note that your vacancy rate that you have used is 7.3%,
Yes,
as opposed to the 2.5% used by the assessor,
correct.
even though there was no vacancy, it was
Right.
fully occupied.
Correct.
So I'm wondering what your rationale is for that.
We look at what we're using this cycle is the Johnson report on my page 5. This is a clip from, Rocky generally brings it with them. It's a long, it's basically a survey of all the vacant properties in the city.
Mhm.
Investment properties, of course, as the assessor will want me to point out. But so if you look on my page 5, the second entry there, East Kildonan, which is where this is located, 2017, the vacancy by that data was 7.3. And then the overall was 7.2. So generally what we do is just take a midpoint, but because that midpoint rounds up to 7.3. So we could use essentially the East Kildonan industrial vacancy as according to the Johnson report.
Okay, thank you.
Richard?
I have none, thanks.
And I have none. Anything in summation, gentlemen? You're good?
Just that a 5.5% cap is, finish the sentence, I think you can figure it out. I think you can finish that sentence for me. 5.5% cap is would not have all the applicable. Charming and joke, it's not working.
It's getting close. Let's move on to the next property then, 43 Burnett Avenue. Its amount of assessed value. When you are ready.
Okay, file number 19-186, roll number is 04007036300300, address is 43 Burnett Avenue. Roll year is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018, assessed value is $609,000. After discussions with the Mr. Neufeld, we are willing to recommend a revised assessment of $500,000.
Mr. Neufeld, you're good at that?
Yes, we are, thank you.
Any questions from the panel members?
None.
None?
None.
Good, accepted. Thank you, gentlemen. The next property on our agenda will be 5 Kent Street. I'm sorry, premise effective is 975 Thomas Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, may I for a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Do we care to have any detail from the assessor?
It
On the cap or rent or what it was
On
that-
which?
on the rec?
It was based on net adjustment of net debt per square foot.
That's what I'm wondering, just for the record.
And actually, all our recommendations today will be based on adjustment of net rents per square foot.
So staying with your cap.
Yep.
Right, yes. We may not agree, but
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it should be.
we're agreeing to the final.
They're agreeing with the final number.
I don't want to put it.
They're gonna
out
both
for
disagree on how they got
You're opening
there.
up a can
Let's
of
just
worms.
keep going, yeah.
And that's why I wasn't opening it.
Thank you.
The next property, as I said, was 975 Thomas Avenue, and its amount of assessed value again.
Okay, so Board of Revision file number 19-4702. Roll number is 14093837-600. Address is 975 Thomas Avenue. Roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $2,881,000. Again, after discussions with Mr. Neufeld, we're willing to revise our assessment to $2,750,000 based on an adjustment of net rents per square foot.
Mr. Neufeld, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Yes, any questions from the panel members?
None.
Okay, accepted. Is that the number?
Yep.
Okay. Next property on the docket will be 30 Stapleton Street, amount of assessed value. And I do believe you have a non-co-op on this?
Yes.
You want to read the stuff and then get
Yeah.
the information on the
So,
non-co-op?
Board Revision file number 19-496. Roll number is 1409381510. Address is 30 Stapleton Street. Roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $558,000. So we have a non-co-op on this. If you turn to page 2, you'll see that we did not receive all the information for a 2017 mailer that was sent out. The mailer is located on,
But you got the 2018 one.
yeah, so in 2018, all we received was the roll. We received no income expense information.
Which page is that on?
That is on pages 13 to 15. And then, 13 to 16, and then on page 17 is what we received in 2018.
Sorry, page
And-
17 would be for 2017, right?
Yeah, it was.
The date of 18, yeah.
Yeah, but if
So
you
the-
look at the roll there, they're providing a roll from January 1st to December 2018, so we didn't receive really anything for 2017 roll year, except for the 3-month, yeah.
So you're going back, you're actually making this because something wasn't received for 17,
Yeah, and this is what they sent in for 17.
which was 18.
Correct.
So you got the 18 now.
Well, so they sent this in 2018 for 2017, but they're only providing the rent roll. It's no income expenses. You'll notice the date that they signed is August 15th, 2018. So it's, so yeah. There's no income and expense information for 2017. All we have is a roll year for 2018.
Do you want us to wait for questions till after? the-
Yeah, we'll wait till he's finished putting his first.
Yeah, so that's what I
Okay,
have.
that's it?
Yeah.
What did you want to say on the matter? Are you challenging it?
Yes, we are. Can I go ahead?
Go ahead.
So this property was operating with 1066 Nairn, Winnipeg Hyundai, which I don't have the exact date, I think in 2017 was sold to our new client who also occupies this site. When they purchased the dealership, they signed a lease at this site for an auto body dealer. The information that was submitted was by the tenant. The owner sold his main building, leased out this building to that same owner, same person, and then when we had contact with this current tenant, we had indicated, or we told them to send in the information that they could gather. It is a 1 or 2 year lease. It's a termination lease, so it's not necessarily a market transaction lease. But what happened is we essentially told the tenant to send in what they could. The owner was not in contact with us whatsoever. So, and the tenant is obviously liable for taxes. I would just argue that the failure by the owner when the tenant did do what they could in order to mitigate that would not necessarily be a proper application of this penalty. Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, so you are representing the tenant or the owner?
Yes, the tenant.
Tenant, okay.
Yes.
So the owner hasn't filled out any of the information, and in fact, what they've sent is just 2018 tenant roll.
Yeah, and that was after the tenant, the tenant did hold over in the lease and it's still there.
But the owner did provide it the year before.
I know that was year before, like the full, sorry, what page are you saying?
On page 2, so 2016, we received it on time, so it wasn't previous tenant, it was most likely the owner, I think, the owner building it.
Sorry, and
On my page 2, we received the 2016 mailer, and as of now, we still haven't received any 2017 information, so.
is this not, but no, because the 2017 information is on page 17 here, because it's the dated
No,
for
that-
2018.
Yeah,
So that would be
but
the
look
20
at the tenant roll, the,
Oh, so you're saying because it
so
doesn't,
we don't have
address
anything, we don't have anything for 2017, no income and expenses, we don't have any roll information, just for the first 3 months of 2018.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not going to say that that's wrong, I would just argue that it was, the tenant would essentially be penalized for the owner's actions. And it was also during, or at the time of the transaction of the dealership actually trading hands. These things fall through the cracks in that respect, but at the same time, I don't really, I'm not going to, I will always defend the tenant if it's an owner's failure.
Richard, do you have any questions? Of either side?
I'm just a little bit confused by the date lines here that you're using. So for 2017,
Right?
you didn't receive anything?
No.
And-
Well, we did, so what they filled out
Uh-huh.
was supposed to be for 2017, but they didn't fill out any information for 2017.
You did it for 2018
Yeah.
and just the tenant roll.
Right, so.
Which, that's fine, I get that. But I don't see any evidence in here for your request sent out in
Yeah, it was
2017.
on,
Page
it's on,
16.
page 13?
No, that's a letter sent out on June 8th, 2018.
Yes.
Oh, so,
So we're requesting
oh, for
2017.
17,
Right.
okay. Where's the April 12th letter?
Well, April 12th, we sent it out, they didn't send it back, so we sent a registered letter.
Yep, okay, but we always see your April 12th letter in here as well, in front of the June 8th letter. So that's one piece of documentation missing. Your original letter, this is a follow-up letter, is it not?
This is the, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a follow-up letter.
But,
So we don't have your, well, let me finish. We don't have your first letter here.
no,
Okay. Then you have your envelope, and I take it this would be a signature that it was received
Right.
on what date, so I don't have to,
The 7th of June.
7th of June.
Where is it?
How could it be the 7th of June if this went out on the June 8th?
Well, I don't know, it's the post office is, whatever they say there.
But isn't it your job to know, sir?
Delivered June
Representing
8th,
evidence.
delivered June 8th.
Okay, and they signed for it on June 8th.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, yeah,
Well, that's what it says.
that's what the
signature
post
image
office is saying, yeah.
recorded. Okay, at 10 a.m.
Correct.
Okay? And then beyond that, we have nothing but the one page.
Correct. And you could see up at the top there, we extended the due date to June 29th.
Yep. And still nothing after
And
that.
we still haven't received anything.
But you received this August 15th.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
but we haven't received anything for 2017, this one.
Okay.
And so a question for the appellant. I saw a tracking document here somewhere on the sale. Here, no,
Page 16.
Here we are. No, on page 11, property sale questionnaire. This is back in 2003,
Yes.
evidence provided by the city. This is worm trucking to have a number of Manitoba Company Act, 30 Staples.
Correct, yeah, so this would have been the previous owner purchasing it from another party.
The previous.
Sorry,
owner-
the current owner
Focus-
purchasing, yes,
focus
yes,
on
yes,
it.
sorry,
Let's
not the
say who it
tenant,
is.
yeah.
And they purchased it from Worm Trucking Company.
Correct.
Okay. So they've been there for a number of years.
Yes,
And your supposition is they didn't provide the evidence why?
they stopped operating the body shop. They stopped operating the body shop. They leased it out to the person, to the group that purchased 1066 Nairn, which is the Hyundai dealership of this service, now leases from that owner for this. So the owner, I guess, essentially, it was not, no longer his concern in order at that point because
Focus is gone.
Focus
Who do
is
you
gone.
rep-
They say they kept the name as Focus just because it's a sign, but it's Focus
Who
is
do you
now.
represent?
We represent, well, this would be, I don't know what their group is called, but this is the Mercedes dealer
Yeah.
who
Okay.
purchased 1066 Nairn
You
and
don't,
leases this.
you don't represent Focus, you represent the new owner now,
The tenant.
the third person referenced in this.
The
No, the
tenant,
tenant
not
that's
the
there
Oh, the
now.
tenant.
The tenant,
You
yes.
represent the tenant.
Yes.
Oh, boy. Whose responsibility to file the brief? Or the
It is
mailing
the owners in all situations.
in all?
Yeah.
And so the owner is not at 30 Stapleton. The owner is at the.
The owner
dealership.
is sold the dealership. So the owner sold the dealership to this tenant. I know.
Who did he sell it to?
sold it to this tenant?
The owner in 2017, 1066 Nairn was sold to Mercedes. We'll
In
call it.
2017?
I want yes 2017. I
How
don't
come we
have-
got a sale of 2000?
Sorry, it's 1066 Nairn.
No,
It's a different
he's
property.
talking about the dealership.
The
now.
dealership that this is
Mr. Chairman.
Not
associated
this
with.
space.
Yeah.
Can I ask one
Yes,
question?
you can.
Maybe, so it was sold, but there's no land transaction?
Sorry, this wasn't sold.
Yeah,
1066
Can we let him
Nairn.
finish?
Yeah.
Because this is very interesting, but it's all relevant. So the dealership, who owns this property,
The previous owner of 1066 Nairn.
sold it,
And
And
kept
this
it-
was
kept
part of
this
the pro-
building, kept this building and leased it to the owner of the current owner of 1066.
okay, now it comes together.
I-
This was not clear in your.
Yeah, sorry.
Original
No,
Can you repeat that one more time? 1066?
was sold
Was sold.
to who we represent, and the same owner owns 30 Stapleton, kept that building, and is now leasing it to the party who purchased it.
Now he's releasing it to them.
Yes.
And he chose not to tell the city that he doesn't have an address at Stapleton or at the 1066.
From what I can tell, yes.
Okay, and whose responsibility is it to tell the city where the mailer, or the letters should go?
He is still the owner, so him.
Okay,
Yeah, the response, there's not a whole lot the tenant can do, is the real issue.
he would pay penalties if there
The
were penalties.
tenant pays the penalties and,
Tenant pays the tenant penalties.
because they're responsible for the taxes, and only the owner can actually file this.
Right,
Correct.
right. And does your firm play any role in monitoring these things and making sure the right
yes.
people do what they're supposed to do?
Yes, we do. For this one, I can't speak to it directly because obviously we deal with Mercedes, who owns real estate. We have their properties, and we told them to file their returns, but we weren't really dealing with this previous owner, so we didn't have contact with this owner, but with the tenant.
Okay. So would they hold you liable that you should have known about this and you should have told them? Either the tenant or the new owner? Well, not the new owner, the previous owner of the dealership, Mr. X.
Would they hold us liable? I think that would be
Did you drop the ball?
I don't feel that we dropped the ball at all. This was the owner that didn't make it for the tenant. The tenant really had we had contact with the tenant. What I can tell you with certainty we will be telling the tenant to make sure this is filed, but
Because they would have to go to the owner
right
to make sure it's done. Okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm good.
yeah,
Just get that
obviously
sorted.
confusing.
You got the story?
Giselle?
I have no further questions, thank you.
So this company, which is a numbered company, 4487061,
Yeah,
was the previous owner of 1066 Main.
correct.
Sold 1066 but kept this,
And leased it to
and it leased it to Focus first, then Focus left.
Focus was looking at Focus confuses it all more because they took the Focus is what the body shop was named.
Yeah.
The new tenant kept the name.
So the new tenant has kept the name.
Focus.
Focus.
Yeah.
So Mercedes has kept the name Focus
For this site, yeah.
for this site. So this mailer was sent to them at this site, but it wouldn't have been addressed to them. It was addressed to
To another company.
who signed for it? Can you tell?
I have no idea.
Like I can't read out his signature. You guys could just they wrote down signator.
It's
Focus.
B. Carter, maybe. It's the closest I can
Mr. Chair, I just want to correct one thing that you said.
Sure. Correct.
You said Mercedes kept this Focus.
No, they kept the name Focus.
Yeah, they did, but then the owner of Mercedes left, he sold it.
No, Mercedes is still
Mercedes
there.
bought it.
Mercedes got,
But then, if I heard the story correctly, Mercedes was then sold to another fellow, and the original owner of Mercedes walked away but kept this property.
No,
no, that wasn't the Mercedes.
no,
That's what I
the
heard.
No.
Hyundai sold
Hyundai.
the Hyundai
Sold
dealer
it to
to the
Mercedes.
Mercedes group.
And
So,
the-
and they're operating it as a Hyundai.
Okay, and the guy who owns Mercedes kept this.
No,
Or
sorry, the
Hyundai
guy who
guy.
owns Mercedes is now leasing this from
And
the
it's-
the
But
person who owns
it's
it.
Mercedes, but it's a Hyundai dealership,
It had a little twist there.
okay?
Yeah.
So it's a Hyundai dealership
Yeah.
owned by the Mercedes group. But they are not tied to this business number.
That
here.
is addressed to.
This business number here was the previous owner.
Yep.
So
That part I've
but
got, yeah.
would that not have been caught when the sale occurred in 2002?
No, because that was this person. This 2002 is
So when did the last sale occur?
2002.
The
For
last
this
sale-
site, yes. For this site was 2002.
For this site?
Yeah.
Oh, but the other site was done in
Yes.
2017, they
Right.
moved out, so they didn't have to report. Well, they still should have
They
reported
still
an address change, because their mail is going here.
I suppose, yeah.
Because if they're renting it out, they shouldn't be going to their tenant. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I'm not aware of the sale,
Yeah.
so,
Do you follow where it's going though? Like, you're sending it to the numbered company who owns this building, but he's not there. It's being used by the Hyundai dealership who bought 1066.
so it's the owner should have notified us where their new
Correct.
mailing address is.
But somebody signed for it.
And-
Well,
or-
the tenant
or-
should have also.
Or the tenant should have just sent it to the owner, but
Yeah.
And I'm not aware of the sale, so I,
Well, you wouldn't have
There's
been
no-
aware of the
there's no
sale, because this one
management.
never sold.
yeah, this
This one didn't
This
sell,
didn't
they
sell.
sold 1066,
So
they
we
maintained.
can't be
No.
held responsible for
Well, let us discuss it now, guys.
Yeah.
We'll call the meeting back to order. We are going to accept the burden of proof moving over to you guys. We're accepting the city.
You make the rec then?
Sure.
Okay, and my presentation is
So you're-
deferred to him.
You're deferring to him, okay?
And I'm deferring because of the deferral.
Yes. You want to go ahead and read?
Yeah, so, Board Revision File Number 19-496. Actually, we went through all this, so,
Yeah.
we're gonna recommend a value, a reassessment of $458,000 with a deferral.
415?
$458,000.
Oh, 58,000.
No, you heard it right.
With the deferral being.
Yes, accepted, yes, we got that. And it, was that another one on the rent thing again?
Yes.
And of course, you've got a different opinion. Any questions from the panel members?
None.
None? Let's move on to the next one. The next one is 51A Spears Road. Amount of assessed value when you are ready. Missouri.
Okay, so, Board Revision File Number 19-278, roll number 0602106750. Address is 51 Spears Road, roll area is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $367,000. And after discussions, we're willing to recommend a reassessment of $336,000 based on adjusted net rents per square foot.
You okay with that, Mr. Neufeld?
Can I ask my father to leave the room because I didn't hear any of that?
336,000.
Yes, we are. Thank you. I'm not allowed to talk.
That concludes 1501 Bugle. Amount of assessed value when you are ready. I read.
Board Revision File Number 19-279, roll number 0605023600. Address is 1501 Bugle Road. Roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $672,000. After discussions with Mr. Neufeld, we're willing to recommend a reassessment of $550,000
550.
based on adjusted net rents per square foot.
Mr. Neufeld?
We are in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. On to the next property. 1661 Dougal.
Give us a moment, please, Mr. Chair.
Sure, I'm
Just
sorry.
A little bit of writing.
Oh, slow down a bit.
Thank you.
Tell me when you're ready.
Good to go.
Good to go? Are you good to go?
I'm good to go.
So am I. Let's move on to the next property, which is 1661 Dougal. Arif, when you are ready.
All right, Board Revision File Number 19-4414, roll number 0605229000. Address is 1661 Dougal Road. Roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $1,484,000. After discussions with Mr. Neufeld, we are willing to recommend a reassessment of $1,380,000 based on adjusted net rates.
Mr. Neufeld, 1,280,000. 1,380,000.
Yes.
1,380,000. Yes.
Yes, we're in agreement. Thank you. I fear if I hear too much, or fear if I say too much, you're gonna up the number more. I'm just gonna let you say whatever you gotta say.
Wait, are you ready, Richard?
It's tough having Dad beside you.
Yeah, no kidding.
1505 Dougal Road. Amount of assessed value when you are ready.
Okay, Order Revision File Number 19-280, roll number 0605301100. Address is 1505 Dougal Road, roll year is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $1,118,000. We're willing to recommend a reassessment of $1,075,000.
10750, 1,075,000. Mr. Newfeld?
Yes, we're in agreement.
Got that number?
Adjusted net rents?
Adjusted net
Yeah, they're all the same.
I think they're all,
The next property on the agenda is the property at 1565 Dougal Road, amount of assessed value. Somebody, when you are ready.
All right, Board Revision, file number 19-4471, roll number 0605297350, address is 1565 Dougal Road, roll year is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018, assessed value is $672,000. We're willing to recommend a reassessment of $6,019,000 based on adjusted net
You mean
6
619,
million?
not
Sorry.
6 million.
No, $619,000.
Yeah.
19 is 19.
19.
You're
One
going
nine.
6 million there for a minute.
Should we like write everything down on a chart maybe and give to them?
$619,000.
We're in agreement.
Thank you.
That one.
Is that 619? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm good.
You're good, Richard?
Yes,
Hmm?
not yet.
Oh, yeah? Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Coming along.
I tend to go too fast sometimes. I
Good
need
to go.
Richard to put the brakes on.
Yep.
1460 Clarence Avenue, its amount of assessed value. Arif, when you are ready.
Okay, Board Revision, file number 19-431, roll number 0309-1642700, address is 1460 Clarence Avenue, roll year is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018, assessed value is $2,886,000. We're willing to recommend a reassessment of $2,700,000.
$2,700,000. Mr. Newfeld?
We are in agreement with $2,700,000.
Thank you. That concludes all the matters for today, gentlemen. We'll see, it reminds me of that song, See You in November, right?
Thank
See
you
you in
very
March.
much.